This video was brought to you by Titan Mattress. It's hot as outside, man. Oh wait, I already used that bit in the last video. Clearly my writing quality has taken a hit. I should get some sleep, which is why I know Titan has my back. I still got it. Titan's been getting a lot of love from me this year, huh? Well, that's because Titan specializes in making quality mattresses for big guys and gals like me. Like, I know I joke, but legitimately I feel sleep is too important to cheap out on, and I think getting a good mattress that'll last you a long while is a crucial life investment. And with Titan, you don't gotta waste time going to a mattress store or any of that. You order these online and they're shipped to your house. All safe and sound in a secure box, and installing it is easy peasy lemon squeezy. Removing the wrapping is probably the best part because watching the mattress expand is like looking at a magic trick. Titan Mattress has literally had my back for well over 2 years at this point. It is sincerely one of the most comfortable mattresses I've ever had the pleasure of sleeping on. You know, I work from home, so I need a good night's sleep to be productive, and my Titan mattresses offer me wonderful comfortability and back support for myself and my partner. My cat is not the partner I'm talking about. I even got one from my parents, mainly because they were long overdue to replace their bed and were lazy about it, but also because I strongly believe Titan makes some damn good mattresses. With Titan, I'll stress again, you know you're getting quality and affordability. They're backed by master craftsmen who've been building mattresses for well over 30 years. They're thoroughly tested to ensure durability, and since they're designed, assembled, and shipped from the Arizona factory, they can use premium materials at a reasonable price to you, and if you live in the United States, you get free shipping. Plus, as always, if you're on the fence about it, Titan does come with a 120-night sleep trial and limited lifetime warranty to help give you peace of mind with your purchase. So visit titanmattress.com/SomeCallmeJohnny to get 30% off your order with code SomeCallmeJohnny. Once more, that's titanmattress.com/SomeCallmeJohnny to get 30% off your order with code SomeCallmeJohnny. Hell, you can get started from your phone by scanning the QR code you see on the screen there. Thanks to Titan for once again sponsoring this video, and thank you as always for helping support this channel. Let's continue on with the show.
Alright, so the Wario Land series was successful in giving Wario an identity beyond the evil counterpart of Mario Stick he originally had back in his debut. I mean, he's still sort of that, but nowadays his defining character trait is his insatiable greed and lack of personal hygiene. You ever just look at a guy and think to yourself, man, I bet he smells like shit. That's what I think whenever I see Wario now. Well, anyway, after Wario Land 4 on the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo R&D wanted Wario to not only continue seeing new life with the WarioWare series, but they also wanted the big slob to get into console gaming with a 3D entry for the newly released Nintendo Gamecube. But since Nintendo R&D were busy handling WarioWare, development of the 3D game was left in charge of Treasure. And that was a surprise to learn. Oh shit, Treasure made this game? Well, first off, very appropriate developer to make a Wario game given the nature of the character and the name of the company, but fuck yeah, I love Treasure. Gunstar Heroes in the Sega Genesis remains one of my favorite games on the system to this day. But besides that, Dynamite Headdy, Mischief Makers, Radiant Silvergun, Ikaruga, Sin and Punishment, admittedly their games aren't for everyone. Like fuck, Alien Soldier is a technical marvel, but goddamn is it hard. But with Treasure, when you find that one game that really clicks with you, it's suddenly the greatest thing ever. Like even when it's a McDonald's licensed tie-in. It's thanks to the success of Sin and Punishment on the N64, at least in Japan originally, that Treasure was considered for Wario's first and as of this time, only 3D platformer. And in 2003, the fruits of their labor would result in Wario World, the game I avidly remember always seeing in rental shelves back in the early aughts because of Wario's big gaping mouth directly greeting you on the cover. Even got a bit of drool leaking out there. Is Wario okay? Is his face numb? Did he just get out of the dentist? That said, I don't physically own a copy of Wario World for the GameCube, but luckily for me, the game is available on the Nintendo Switch Online service that I pay for, so now I don't feel bad emulating the game on Dolphin. Sadly, this also means I don't have access to the manual of the game, which is a great read if you haven't seen it yet. Wario talks mad shit throughout the whole thing like Cranky Kong did in Donkey Kong Country, and we even get a thorough look at the dude's biology. And while I know folks like to center on the fact that Wario is literally smooth-brained, his words, not mine, I'm more impressed that his bladder can hold 1.1 gallons of piss. God damn, that's more than this jug of milk. Does every session in the bathroom with him take as long as Austin Powers? Now, as a heads up, I am playing the North American release of this game since last I checked, that's where I'm from. but I am aware that the Japanese version of this game, which was released about like a year after the original Western release, saw a couple of updates, namely like adding a second phase to the final boss encounter. Admittedly, I do think the final boss in the original release is kind of lame. You literally see the entire thing in less than a minute and it just repeats from there. So if you're looking for a more climactic and complete version of the game, you should probably look into playing the Japanese version, assuming you don't mind the menus and dialogue, being in Japanese. But personally, I just wanted to stick with the version my country got, and I didn't think the new stuff added for the final boss was that significant. The rest of the game is relatively unchanged. But okay, let's see how Wario fares in his 3D debut. Was there a reason why there hasn't been another 3D Wario game since this game came out, or was this just another case of Nintendo testing the waters in one of their most experimental times?
Wario World begins with the titular asshole doing what he does best, relishing in his own greed. The dude is stacked with treasure he's collected over his past adventures, and look at him, he's so happy. Real quick, outside of WarioWare Gold for the 3DS and I want to say Mario Golf 64, I think this is some of Charles Martinet's best vocal work as Wario. And yeah, I'm just talking about a lot of grunts and the occasional vocal quip. But I think by this time, he's finally found a proper voice for Wario that's one part sinister and smug, but also full of confidence. Like every time he delivers a coup de grace while wishing his enemies a rotten day, or when he fills the room with his maniacal laughter, I can't help but smile, especially when it's after a big combo. But going back to the story, what Wario doesn't realize is that one of those treasures he nabbed was an ancient black jewel that threatened civilization a long time ago, but was sealed away by these little dudes called Spritelings. Thanks to Wario's greed though, the black jewels managed to reawaken and immediately gets to work by transforming Wario's castle into 4 strange worlds and turning all of his treasure into monsters that, well, Wario's gotta beat the shit out of now. And that's the basic gist of things. Wario's lost all of his stuff and he's gotta get it back, while at the same time rescuing the little Spritelings that can help Wario defeat the black jewel once and for all. That said, outside of the first Spriteling you're required to rescue, the rest are completely optional. You can just leave them to rot inside of their cramped little boxes if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it, seeing as the Spritelings genuinely give Wario good advice and helpful tips to help grab extra treasure, or deal with upcoming boss encounters. Shit, if I didn't rescue the correct Spritelings, God knows how long it would have naturally taken me to figure out the trick with this asshole, the mean MC. Who is this guy anyway? He's like Jim Carrey's The Mask if the mask was laced with fentanyl. I am on and off with the enemy design in this game. One of my immediate critiques is how painfully small the enemy variation is in this game. You have your common fodder who only exists to die in one hit. That's easy money. Then there's the slightly larger variety that takes a couple of hits but are just as easy to kill. You got chunkier dudes that switch tactics after enough hits, but you can just continue the assault and kick their ass all the same. There's an enemy with the mounted gun, a basic ass flying enemies. Every world has a variation of these archetypes, the only real difference being that in one world they look like dinosaurs, in another world they look like clowns, but the strategies remain all the same. There are a few worlds that have their own quirky elite goon, like a tree with spiky fruit or a haunted painting, and while I'm glad to see something more unique, obviously, fuck, these guys are just annoying because they can not only take a long ass time to kill because of their health, you also fight some of them more than once in a single stage, and that's just a little tiring. Now, for what it's worth, I think some of the enemies used for puzzle solving are pretty cool, and I think every world has their own variant of these as well, like using the icicle dudes as makeshift platforms in shivering mountains, or using the magnet enemies in Beanstalk Way to create new footing on metal walls. Yeah, just stick them on the wall like that and watch as Wario, motherfucker. That happened to me a lot, and it's mainly because of the fixed camera. Yeah, so you don't have much camera control in this game. Most of the time, you can just shift the view left or right to get a better sense of what's ahead. And normally, this isn't a problem. I feel the level design is usually good at accommodating for this, when you're just trying to finish the stage anyway. I'll explain that later. But sometimes the platforms and walkways feel like they get a little too thin, and fuck, it is so easy to just slip between the cracks because of Wario's controls. He's faster on his feet than I was expecting, honestly. And while this means movement is pretty snappy, it also means platforming can feel a little loose given how quickly Wario reaches top speed. And let me tell you, falling off the stage is a fate worse than death in this game, and I mean that because in Wario World, if you fall down, you don't die or even lose health. You're sent to this place where you have to find the exit spring located in one of these boxes, and it's completely random. Meanwhile, you got these chuckle fucks constantly harassing you, and if they manage to get you, you lose some coins to collect, but really is no big loss. You can easily get those coins back with how much the game fucking showers you with the damn things. I'm just more frustrated at the mere existence of this place. It's such a waste of fucking time, dude. I'd rather, falling down a bottomless pit just take some of my health and reset my position. Let me get a move on. Fuck, you know what does exactly that? getting a game over. Yeah, if you lose all your health, the game ends, obviously, but if you spend some of your coins, you respawn exactly where you left off, and you can continue going about your merry business. It's pretty bonkers, actually, and ripe for abuse in the right circumstances. If you got the coins to spare, there's nothing stopping you from tanking hits if it means cheesing an obstacle or killing a boss faster, which is what I ended up doing for some of these guys, because yeah, man, I got the coins to spare. I sucked the fucking shit out of those things every chance I got. And that's easy to do because Wario has a dedicated grab coins button, where he opens his big ass mouth nice and wide and sucks all that money up. Now, I thought this was going to have some multi-purpose use, like maybe I can eat some enemies for health or grab objects and carry stuff for puzzle solving. But no, it only exists to suck up coins, and that's it. It is such a Wario thing to have, and I can't help but laugh at it. Besides that, I am a little surprised how little money means in this game. Like, outside of paying for game overs, its only other use is buying garlic from this dude for some health pickups if you need it, and the more you buy at once, the more expensive it gets later, and depending on the circumstances, it might actually be cheaper to just die and pay for the game over than fill your health up. I didn't think this game was terribly hard either way. I was drowning in coins by the time I reached the end. As far as bosses go, I think these guys fit that bizarre vibe that Wario games are usually known for at this point. My favorite might be Red Brief J because of his flamboyant personality. The way he struts towards you like a runway model is just excellent. On the other hand, I also find a good chunk of these guys to be a little on the generic side. Enemy archetypes that don't go much beyond a base design. Here's a clown, here's an angel doll, here's a spider. Good first impression though. Dino Mighty is a great first major boss that perfectly highlights the kind of shit that Wario can do to even the largest enemies. For as much as the game is about traditional platforming and treasure collecting, it's also a beat 'em up in some sense, and Wario's packing that physicality. He can wallop things with his fists and end it with a good old headbutt straight out of Battletoads. He can ground pound things with his large ass, and he's got his classic shoulder tackle, which can lay on the damage, but you can also use it for a small burst of speed, and even do this long jump that doesn't feel as useful as Mario's from Mario 64. It's very quick and hard to spam, but in the right spots, it can help save some time. But why stop there when you can pick up stunned enemies and do shit like tossing them really fucking hard, or spin them around like a tornado and thrash everything around you, or take their ass to the sky and pile drive them straight to the fucking floor? The combat's pretty simple overall, but I found it no less satisfying clobbering enemies with any of these maneuvers. And to mention again, I just really like that you can do this with boss fights. No one is safe from Wario. Fighting things is no real problem in this game. The real challenge, as was the case for a lot of 3D platformers around this time, is just trying to get everything. If you just want to beat the game, the only thing you need to collect are a certain amount of these red diamonds, which are needed to unlock the stone doohickey at the end of the level hosting the area's boss fight. And yeah, it's literally just called a stone doohickey. That's great. Every level has a shit ton of these sub-areas that host either a puzzle for Wario to solve or a platform challenge that feels like the love child of Mario's Sunshine and Super Monkey Ball. What's interesting is that you have almost full camera control in these spots, and sometimes, especially in the puzzle variations, the trick to solving the rooms is having the right perspective. It almost feels like a prototype of the Captain Toad levels from Mario 3D World. Some of the platforming challenges can be a real test of skill, but honestly the platforming sub-areas were some of my favorite things to do in the game. Even if the control made me do some shitheaded stuff occasionally. Ooh, Jesus Christ, that was close. Oof. I think it also helps that falling down doesn't send you to the filler dimension. You just reset to the beginning of the room. You don't even lose any health. The challenge is often just trying to get to the end in one shot, and I found that pretty exhilarating. But yeah, every stage has around 8 of these sub-areas, and sometimes just trying to find the fucking doors are the real obstacle in a game with fixed camera angles, or finding an enemy to pile drive through the ones that need it and hope the game's collision detection doesn't screw you out of entering the bonus area at all. Like that. Jesus, come on. What, was the enemy too large, or was it Wario's ginormous ass? What's so wrong with him having a big ass? That just means there's more of him to love, baby. There's also a few gimmicks that I really think should have been cut back on or just be one and done. The game is no stranger with requiring the spinning move to activate certain platforms. That's a little awkward. I always feel there's a risk of you falling off these things given how small they are and how you have to spin the analog stick to move them. But still, these are simple enough to get by. Some levels also have these spinners that open gates when you spin an enemy on them in the corresponding directions. The problem is that the gates reset after a time, meaning you have to keep doing this just to backtrack or re-explore something for treasure. And again, it's nothing complicated. I just think maybe the gates should have stayed open after doing the mechanic once, you know? So besides red diamonds and the occasional spriteling, every stage also has its share of treasure to grab locked inside these chests that require hitting their corresponding color buttons to spawn. And these can be a real scavenger hunt given how some chest locations can be pretty damn far away from their respective button. And some of these levels like the Shivering Mountains, the Mirror Mansion, and Pecan Sands are fucking gargantuan, and this game doesn't have a map feature. You gotta memorize where you've been and haven't been using nothing but your own smooth brain. Finally, there's these gold statue pieces that not only permanently extend your health when you find enough of them, but they really do help spruce up the place with Wario's massive golden girth. The statue pieces generally don't require much effort to collect. They even make a distinctive humming noise when you're close to one. So I feel if you're wearing headphones while playing this, that can really help out. The problem is the few that are just super fucking obnoxious to get. There was one in Beanstalk Away that I think you're supposed to grab on the way down to the battle arena, but I just straight up missed that son of a bitch for some reason, and because I really didn't want to reset the level, I ended up doing this precise long jump from this tiny ass pillar to get it that way. At least the game lets me get away with shit like that, you know? God, Shivering Mountains, can I just say this was the worst stage in the game for me to 100%. The level is massive, and it has a few of these one-way ice slides that you can't backtrack through, and there's treasure on specific parts of the slide that you just gotta know they're there, but you won't on your first run because of the fixed camera angles, and every time you miss it, which is very easy to do, you gotta reset or take the balloon at the end of the stage that'll warp you back to the beginning to find the treasure you missed. Christ, this level was such a kick in the dick and not very fun. However, I found these levels the exception rather than the rule. Getting all the things in other stages wasn't nearly this arduous, and I found it pretty comfortable. However, I feel I should now mention the best and worst thing about this game, and I shit you not, it's the pause music. Every time you pause the game, that is what you immediately hear. And while it is very Wario, I love it in that sense, I also want to stab Wario with a broken bottle. Every time I pause the game to take some notes about something, that's what I fucking hear. And it is especially soul crushing whenever I run into some bullshit. I slip off of a platform again. I fall to the filler dimension again. I find a gold statue piece just to get immediately clapped by an oncoming ram. I accidentally grabbed the reset balloon without realizing I grabbed the fucking reset balloon, and my dumbass got whisked away to the beginning of the level because I zoned out, and I am not kidding. That actually happened to me during my time in Thrillsville, and I felt like such a jackass. But afterwards, I paused the game to write that timestamp down. I could probably make a joke out of that in the review, and it's just... All that said, this game is not very long either way. It took me around like 6.5 hours to 100% Wario World, and watch Wario orgasm after finally defeating the Black Jewels. What the fuck is going on with his face here? Is he pushing out all 1.1 gallons of his piss at once? There are only 4 worlds, and every world only has 2 stages and a major boss fight. However, a lot of stages are dense with platforming and enemies to beat up, so I feel there's rarely a dull moment. You just gotta deal with the jank every now and then. I personally would have liked a better camera, and yeah, I think some gimmicks and enemies should have been less intrusive, but I was pleasantly surprised to see how much I ended up liking this game. It's not at all the most fleshed out platformer I've played. There's no power-ups, no transformations, the enemies are kinda there, and there's no real gimmicks beyond the combat-oriented stuff. But what it sets out to do, I think it does consistently well enough. It's a take it or leave it adventure, as a lot of treasure games tend to be, but one I do think is worth your time. It probably won't happen anytime soon, but I'd love to see another take on this. Something more in line with a proper Wario Land style of gameplay, you know, just in 3D and with a better camera. Also, where's Wario's sick Cadillac? He gets one game with it and it's already gone. Did he leave it in the all-you-can-eat steak buffet? Fucking meat sweats. So, what we got here is pretty fun, so I recommend you play it.
Excellent.
God.
Alright, so how about we get things going with more Patreon shoutouts. Thanks again to everyone who supports my Patreon over at patreon.com/Somecallmejohnny. So shoutouts to Medeiros, Mojo LaCroix, Morgan, Mr. Bare Bones, Mr. Spaghetti, Mr. Gamerbots Art, Mr. Zarzis, Mr. Rainbow Tie, Mr. Roche, Mr. Black and White 98, Mr. Tree Sapling, a lot of Misters, Murgle, Merlinton, My Kryptonite, Nakagami Penguin, Nepod 91, Necess, or is it just Nick, Nefarious, Neo Sandman 4040, Neo Cosmopolitan, Neo Lab, Nisenda, Nick Anderson, Nigel O, Nil Sujata, Ninja Joe 1807, Nintega 2000, Noah Fillion, Noah Wizbios, Nolan Thunder, Nova the Artist, Obsidian Dynamite, Ooh, Creamy, Oro Money, P64, Pablo Vallejo, Pancake 13, Powerful One, Pampreet, Gil Part, The Irish Pax, Bernhardt, Payday, Penny Dreadful, and finally for today, Peyton Talented but Lazy. Oh my god, shut up!